Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Albums That Made Me. In this episode I'm going to be talking about Ambient 1 music for airports and a number of things Brian Eno related, but mainly musing around what an impact this album had on me, my life, other things I got interested in. I noticed that Mav the cat has graced me with his presence this morning. It's a rare appearance. I think he's going to be a quiet boy today. Do you want to say anything, Mav? Buddy? No? Oh, he's cleaning himself anyway. He might add in the odd burp at some strategic point in the proceedings. Yeah, I definitely think I need possibly a Mav cam, because he's I mention him a lot, but you've not really seen him except on the posts I do on the channel sometimes. So, where do I even start? I was trying to think, because yeah, this was definitely, in terms of Eno's ambient work, my gateway into that aspect of his body of work, I suppose. But there's so many ways in that you can go, and I suppose my first exposure listening wise would have been through Roxy Music, because he was a member of Roxy Music in the early days. And as a musical journey, I could definitely recommend working your way through from the first Roxy Music albums that had Eno on it, and then working your way through his early solo stuff up to this sort of ambient series, just as an interesting sample of the various music stuff he's been involved with, and also his collaborations with people like Fripp and various other individuals. And we'll get on in a moment if you really want to take a deep dive. I actually did a series related to Brian Eno, which I'll talk about in a moment. But anyway, so this was my gateway to his ambient work. And not long after I listened to this, I think I sort of progressed onto the album. Is it Thursday Afternoon? I think that's the one. I mean, there's this series of music for films and you can see, there's stuff he's done with Eno and members of Cluster, and then this whole sort of ambient series and stuff with Harold Budd. He's also been involved on and off with Daniel Lanois, which we'll talk about in a moment as well. And there we go, 1985 Thursday Afternoon. So this album I've also played a lot as well, probably mainly on streaming, thinking about it. Yeah, so just going back to where we started, there's music for films as well. Oh, and Apollo was the other one. That's the one I was trying to find. Apollo, with Daniel Lanois and Roger Eno. So those three, I think, were the ones that really sort of cemented my appreciation of his ambient work. But it all started off with Ambient 1, and as you've seen here. Oh, and music for films as well. I forgot about that. Yeah, so it's funny when I start doing these, it all sort of comes back to me. So yeah, probably those are the four albums. So this one, Ambient for Films, Thursday Afternoon, and Apollo, in fairly quick succession. But it definitely started with this. And then it probably wasn't until relatively recently that I went back and started to listen to stuff before that point. And that was as a result of me doing a series based around a book that he wrote about a diary he kept for a year, which we'll talk about in a moment. Yeah, so you can sort of go back, and it's interesting to find the point at which he really went sort of full ambient, I suppose. There's also all these, production credits as well, which is just vast. I mean, yeah, there's a ton of rabbit holes you can go down, and a ton of connections. So there's the Roxy Music connection, because if you go through and drill down into where are we? Yeah, this. I mean, just the discography alone. You have this one, which is the solo album stuff, the collaborative studio albums, the remix albums, the compilation albums, the stuff where he was producer on as well. Yeah, it's just vast. Now, I think what helped in sort of cementing all of that together was around the same time, thereabouts, either side, as I started to listen to a lot of the ambient stuff. I'd picked up things like the David Bowie collection. Was it All Saints? Is it called? I think, which has a lot of it's a collection of his ambient works. There's a lot of Brian Eno related stuff on there. So some of the stuff from this period, from the Berlin trilogy, ends up on that compilation album of Bowie's ambient work. But this book had a lot to do with that as well. Going through this, it's a really interesting book to read through. It's pretty thick, and it goes off down a ton of music rabbit holes. It explores casts quite a wide net, and there's a really interesting set of playlists there as well. I'll include a link as always to the first part of this. This is other stuff. Is stuff obviously I'm running locally. I'll also include a link to the playlist of the series I did. So this was a year with swollen appendices book that he put out, and it came out in '96. I didn't read it until whenever I started the series, which was January of 2023, and because it was the anniversary. Was it? No, what am I saying? There was some reason why I picked up on this. I can't remember. It must have been I was listening to an interview with him then, because I was going to say. So we're getting round to this year actually is the anniversary of the original diary, because it was for 95. So we're in 2025 now, so like 30 years on. Wow. And it's just a year's diary and the stuff he was working on at that time. So yeah, that was good fun to sort of go through and review and see what he was was going on around his world. And then I was also sort of reflecting on what I was doing at that time, and the stuff that he was talking about seeing on the TV or other things that were happening, the things that I remember. So it was a pretty interesting project. It started off where I was trying to do it a week at a time with the videos, but then I switched over to doing a sort of month at a time with the videos. But I made this point of reading the appropriate section of the diary like every day. As I had it on a Kindle, so I was able to do that as well while I was away as well. It's good for doing that actually, because the entries are pretty short most of the time, and the articles at the end are pretty interesting. Yep. So that in some ways was a sort of culmination of everything I'd sort of experienced up to then, and it forced me to go through and sort of review, various playlists and a whole load of other things as well. So I'll include a link to the playlist for that if people are interested. So let's get on to my sort of second brain stuff, and then I'll go off and talk a tiny bit about Daniel Lanois. So I've just created these little mini apps to help me remember things now. I find they're really useful, so I sort of run them just before the video, and it gives me something interesting to sort of jog my memory and talk around. So I was just looking down this list, and it's interesting because a lot of people mentioned on this list, particularly Harold Budd, Steve Reich, Philip Glass, Aphex Twin, I'm not sure Cluster or not, do get name checked in this Ambient book. So, you know, of these, I would say definitely the first, this 9 here that I've listened to some material by, some more than others. I listened to quite a bit of Stars of the Lid and some Philip Glass, and then odd stuff by maybe the other artists. I did have a couple of Aphex Twin albums, and I've got that video compilation with some of the Aphex Twin videos on it, although it's more aimed at the particular producer that created the videos. And Boards of Canada, I don't know how long that was actually, probably 6 months ago maybe. I sort of decided I was going to work my way through the whole of their back catalogue, which is a pretty fun thing to do. And a while back I did go through about 2 or 3 David Sylvian albums, who was originally part of Japan, and listen to some of his solo work. I think 3 albums that were back to back. Now, Daniel Lanois, his name came up there. The reason why I wanted to just flag this up is I've actually been lucky enough to see him live. He played Halifax. I can't remember when. But yeah, he's been involved with, again, a number of different people, collaborated as well. Oh, okay. Seen that film. Interesting. Yeah, he was playing pedal steel when we saw him. That was pretty cool, actually, seeing him live. Anyway, let's look at some of the other Aid memoirs. So I think it definitely is worthwhile working, at the very least, work your way through the Ambient series, if nothing else. Ambient 1, 2 and 3, 1, 2, 3 and 4, those ones. Did listen to that. And this one, in terms of other artists. Oh, of course, Robin Guthrie from Cocteau Twins, isn't it? Yeah, did an album with Harold Budd. I'd forgotten about that. And then you have Cluster. And I don't know much about Cluster, but I do know enough to know that they're an interesting rabbit hole to go down. So yeah. Yeah, sort of encouraging you. It's interesting, the playlist that Last FM is generating based on Scrabble data. So I think, not surprisingly, people probably get stuck in a bit of a riffing on that album, riffing on the album which we're actually talking about here, which is Music for Airports. Yeah, you tend to sort of put that on and just go round and round and round and round and round, which is interesting, seeing as it is based on tape loops. I'm just going to look at some of the LLM generated stuff here to see if anything jogs my memory. I definitely, if you like ambient, like minimal, I've done this, so I've chosen to go down the minimalist ambient route, because that's, to me, predominantly what this particular album is. It's minimalist ambient. So I've chosen that as my sort of chosen genre to plug through the LLM. And I would say, who do I recognise on this list? So, well, actually, it's easy to say the people I don't recognise. So I don't recognise this artist or this artist unless they go under a different name. Some of these might have aliases, or this one. Now again, it's quite possible, I don't know here whether, the danger with LLMs is they could be hallucinating. So yeah. Okay. That doesn't really give me more information than I know. Yeah, it's good again to see, because definitely I would say, as a result of me listening to Ambient, I definitely started to listen to a lot more drone and minimalist. I'm trying to think, is there a genre called something like Lowercase? I remember picking up on that. Oh yeah, Klaus Schultz. See, about the same time, or just after I started listening to a lot of ambient Eno, I started going to it was a short course. It was run a bit like a film club, but it was a course about cinema. And it was run by it was when I was still in the UK, and it was run by the Workers' Educational Association, who ran lots of interesting and very reasonable short courses. I'd been on an all-day astronomy one down in, I think it was Chichester. And then I did I don't know how many weeks it was. It seemed quite long actually. Maybe it was 8 weeks. I don't think it was 12. On cinema. And what was interesting is I was able to sort of go to it because I was working for myself, and I had I could sort of choose when I worked. And so I used to sort of take, I don't know if it was Wednesday morning off or Tuesday morning to go to this course. But I met a really interesting group of people there. And then subsequently we met up afterwards, after the course had finished, to talk about films. And then one of the people that used to go, it actually ended up pretty much with just over time, just me and him meeting up. And it then changed a little bit, and we used to listen to music a lot as well as watch films. And he's a really big Tangerine Dream fan. And so we used to listen to Tangerine Dream and Klaus Schultz and various other things as well. So yeah, I recognise quite a number of names on here, and I would definitely say, as a sort of intersection of that, meeting like-minded people and listening to Brian Eno, it sort of drew me down Tangerine Dream route as well, and Klaus Schultz, and also reacquainted me a little bit with one of the singers from Dead Can Dance. Is it Lisa Gerrard, I think? Yeah, Lisa Gerrard. And so listening to that, I'm trying to think of the person she collaborates with, because hasn't she both collaborated with, I don't know if it was Klaus Schultz or not, but somebody connected, if not him, somebody connected with him. And then also, and I'm trying to think of the name of the composer that did the original Gladiator stuff, and his name escapes me. But yeah, I ended up going down a bit of a sort of orchestral minimalist rabbit hole as well. Off on a bit of a side quest. I think I'm trying to remember which ones, because also several of these composers, minimalist composers, their works crop up on the Naxos record label, which is a budget sort of classical, I suppose, oriented record label that releases CDs. And in the 2000s I was buying quite a number of those, and there's several minimalist artists sort of crop up on there as well, their works. And several of these get, not surprisingly, name checked in the Ambient Century book as well. Yeah, let's definitely listen to that. That's definitely a good, I think, a good step-on album for Aphex Twin if you want to check them out. Don't know what the best Stars of the Lid album is. The one that I can't remember it. I just know it's a sort of got a slightly pinkish orange cover on it. But I've listened to that a lot. And the first Boards of Canada album as well. Yeah. But it is I think it's interesting. Once I got hold of this book, there's whole like corners of ambient where, you know, various artists in various genres have brought ambience into their music. And then, you know, you see these genres where they've tagged ambient on the end of it. So there's a lot of something, or ambient something, as these sort of sub and micro genres that you end up sort of exploring. And then, like I did, you end up maybe going down a bit of a drone avenue, and even like some of the really sort of slow, doomy stuff that's very repetitive. It's interesting and rather telling that after I listened to sort of more ambient stuff, I started to get an appreciation for bands like Earth and Dope Smoker as well. Some of these like really heavy, droney, doomy bands. And Sun as well, the band Sun, who does this sort of really heavy, loud, slow, monotonous music where there's sort of, when you listen to the music, the changes you experience in the music are the interactions over time of, say, a single chord or a note, or an interaction between, say, keyboards and guitar or whatever. So that's pretty interesting. And there's a whole origin story I'm sure you can research about how Brian Eno sort of came to get into, you know, the idea of ambient music. So there we have it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I feel very relaxed after talking about ambient music. I think I'll have to go away and listen to some other ambient artists. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future episode.